Welcome one and all to a brand new series here with SimRacingOnline. This is the GPL Mclaren M2B challenge. The first time we've run this specific series, however, it is very much off the back of the F1 1967 series that we ran very recently. This car, the McLaren M2B, M2B, yeah, indeed. Let me just get a good shot of it for you. There we go. We have Jaka Drug here, the champion of both previous seasons of classic Formula 1 that we've held, going around this classic Nurburgring Sudschleife course, and actually now coming on to a new lap. So let's watch him as he heads around this classic circuit and shows us the sights that are no longer available to see, unfortunately, after this course was demolished. Out and through, wow, over the jump, and through the S's known as Brankerkopf. Jaka Drug currently top of the times, so a wonderful, wonderful person to watch wrangle this 1966 Formula 1 McLaren around a classic part of the Nurburgring circuit. We're now flying down towards Aschenschlag, which will be this next upcoming right-hander here, and then down towards Seifgen, and then the Boxberg will take us up towards the Mullenbach, and then we will fire up the hill towards the longest flat out part of the course, I believe, which we're about to see in just a few minutes' time. This car, of course, the McLaren M2B, never really saw too much success in Formula 1. Of course, it only raced for one season in 1966, and don't believe, well, actually I've just looked up its results. Only scored a best result of 5th, which was with Bruce McLaren at the USA Grand Prix in 1966, and actually didn't even race the full season, and never had two cars in the same race. However, despite all of that, it was one of the very first McLarens in Formula 1 and an integral part of their history. Right, now we're heading through the Scharfekopf, which is one of the tighter corners on the track, before heading up through the right, past where the old Sudkere would be if you were doing the full Nürburgring, or if you were doing the Nordschleife rather. But we are not running the Nordschleife today, just the Sudschleife, the South Circuit, if you put that in English. Now we're heading up towards the Nordkere, which is where you would turn off to the left there if you were doing the full Nürburgring circuit. However, we're not today. We are just doing the Sudschleife circuit because it's long enough in itself, 2:45 when you do it right. And Jaka Drug comes through to complete a lap past the start on Zielgerade, and it's a 2:45.409. So a very fast lap for Jaka Drug. Puts him to the top of the order so far. He was already at the top, but he goes even faster still. Now let's watch Laurent Lons. He's about to complete another flying lap. I don't think this is going to be an improvement for Lons, and indeed he is down on his time there by about 0.4 of a second. He'll get one more chance before the session comes to a close. What about Phil Brown? Unfortunately, you'll notice all of the cars are liveried the same, which is going to get kind of confusing, but I will do my best to keep track of who's who, to keep track of what's going on, and to talk you through the full thing. John van der Geest has now jumped up into 6th position in this session. Let me look up actually what the results of the last Grand Prix or GPL series we did was, which was of course F1 1967 Season 2. I know that Jaka Drug won it. He won 2 seasons of it in a row, and definitely going to be a driver to beat here here in this series. We know that Jaka Drug is pretty much unbeaten in everything that he's done. But he's got Tim Muttram for company there. Muttram challenged him close for the championship last time out. And Muttram is currently less than a second behind him in the order, which doesn't sound very good. But in a circuit as long as this, that's really quite special, as Phil Brown gets very sideways there, but keeps it within the lines, keeps it steady. The checkered flag is now out, and that means that these drivers will only have this chance now left to set a flying lap. Of course, last season, Jaka Drug won the championship, followed by Tim Muttram, and they are both back to contest again. Fabrizio Ferranti was third. He is also in this series now. And they were followed by John van der Geest, who is here today. And Matteo Santini, who unfortunately is not here today. Phil Brown, Daniele Scarpa, Louis Dufour, Max Shepard and Bill Grukak were the others in the top 10. And 4 drivers took wins. Those were Jaka Drug, Tim Muttram, Matteo Santini and Daniele Scarpa. So we're just watching Phil Brown completing a lap. We're not going to be seeing any improvements from John van der Geest, Roel Posma or something Anstey, Paul Anstey. Donny Yorth, a driver I do not recognise and I don't think has raced with us before. And neither has Adam Manderson. So I believe those are the new drivers that we have here today. Tim Muttram just about improves in his lap but stays second. Laurent Lons improves but stays third. And that, I expect, will be the order because Fabrizio Ferranti can only manage 4th. What about Phil Brown? He's pulled off just before the line. So no improvement from him. Let's watch some of these other drivers who are trying to get into the top 10 maybe. We've got Adam Manderson on his debut at SimRacingOnline, I believe, because I do not recognise his name. Trying to look him up on our database, although I don't even see him on that. Oh, as he runs wide and goes into the hay bales there, so I don't think we're going to be seeing any improvement from him. What about Louis Dufour? We know that Louis Dufour is capable of much more. Adam Anderson has raced in SimRacingOnline before. He did round 2 of the Super GT 500 championship a while ago, and unfortunately did not make the finish in that. So, hoping to finish for the first time in a SimRacingOnline event, as Paul Anstey there has jumped up into 9th, Flavio Bosca has gone to 10th, Rob Milliken is the only driver yet to set a lap. He's coming across the line, is he? No, he's pulling into the pits, I believe. So Milliken will not get the chance to set a competitive lap in this session. And that means that Jaka Drug takes pole, followed by Tim Muttram, Laurent Lons, Louis Dufour, Fabrizio Ferranti, Phil Brown, John van der Geest, Roel Posma, Paul Anstey, Flavio Bosca. Who's this again? That would be Donny Yorth, and then Marty McLoone, Adam Manderson, and Rob Milliken make up the 14 drivers who we have here today. There you see them in their order as we get ready for the start. Hello to everyone tuning in, either live or afterwards. We've got Andrew Williams in the YouTube chat. Hello Andrew, good to see you here today. And also I should say thank you to everyone who contributed to us getting 100 subscribers on this channel, because that happened earlier today. So a brand new achievement for SimRacingOnline, 100 subscribers. And thank you all very, very much for that. It's the second time I've got 100 subscribers on YouTube, or contributed to a channel getting 100, and I feel very proud of SimRacingOnline. Here's to 200. I'm sure the league is going to continue to grow. And you can help us out by... you can help us out by sharing us with your friends, with your family, with anyone else who's into racing, wants to find new series maybe. And if you want to get involved in this series, make sure you head to simracingonline.co.uk and sign up for one of my many series. We have series on Assetto Corsa, Race Room Experience, R Factor 2, R Factor 1, Assetto Corsa Competizioni, Automobilista, Project Cars. We really do have something for everyone. I'm sure we're going to have series for more sims in the future as well. So back to the session. Take a look at the order again. It's Drug at the front, followed by Muttram, Lons, Defoe and Ferrante, the top 5, with Phil Brown joining Ferrante on the 3rd row of the grid. Actually, I'm not sure if those are the rows, since these classic F1 rows and grids tend to have more staggered grids. There you see 14 McLaren M2Bs, 1966 Formula 1 cars lined up and ready to go. We're going to have 6 red lights. Oh, we've had a jump start already. And when those lights go out, we will be underway. Here we go. And it's go at the Sudschleife. Away we go. Let's see if we can get to the front of the order. I'll be able to show you very, very soon who's in what position. I see they're 3 wide at the front, heading up towards the first corner of the lap. The corner, the left-hander, which goes past the Sudkere. And it's Louis Defoe who takes the lead. So fantastic start from Louis Defoe. Not quite sure where he qualified, but I know he's jumped up several positions. Muttram second, followed by Drug. Muttram getting kind of sideways, and Defoe's running off onto the grass. Muttram may have a chance at getting past him already here. Not quite close enough. I see that Flavio Bosca's had a little off at the back. He's a little way behind the field from where he'd want to be. But as they stream through for the first time of asking, looks relatively clean apart from that. Muttram demonstrating his very sideways drive style that we saw when he was racing a 1967 Honda in the 67 F1 League. And still it's very close for the lead. It would be still yellow flag showing. I think Bosca's had another incident because he's now 7 seconds behind the driver in front of him. So dramas for Bosca further back. We've had Donny Yorth losing a couple of positions there. He's been passed by Posma and Manderson in all of that. And he's now got Rob Milliken for company as well. Although still the leader is separated by less than half a second as we head up the hill towards Seifgen. And towards the Boxberg, I believe, comes next. Marty McLoone losing places. I think he's had enough. He's in the fence. And he looks to have his wheel wedged in the fence potentially there. So we've had an incident for Marty McLoone. We've also had one. Roll Posma's in the pits. Oh, Milliken's off with Bosca. I think Milliken may have hit Bosca there. And there. Oh, wow. That is severe suspension damage for Bosca. Got no idea how he's going straight. Look at that. I saw that a couple of times in the 67 mod. But whatever the case, Rob Milliken's still struggling to get back on the road. And a couple of drivers severely affected there. Manderson's affected as well. Now let's look up to the front while that's all going off behind. We're heading up now past the Sudkere and towards Gegengerade. Towards the end of the lap. Up and under the bridge. We've already lost a couple of drivers from the race. Marty McLoone is out. Rob Milliken is out. Roll Postman may be out. Tim Muttram going for the lead. Going to the right-hand side of Defoe towards the Nordkere. And Defoe got the better line into the corner. He had the inside. And sometimes if you stick on the right-hand side, if your opponent, you can keep on their inside for the next corner and get the advantage. But Muttram was not quite able to do that just there. It's difficult to pull off. Instantly, Royal Posma is back in the race, so he's still running, but a long way down in this order now. So, 12 drivers remaining after the first lap of racing. Several severely affected. We're going to have a couple of drivers in the pits. Oh, look at them getting over that curb. That was a bit more slidey than Muttram would have liked there. Let's have a look at further back. We've got, look at Bosca. Still continuing with his wheels pointing to the left. Surely his car would do better as a snowplow than a racing car at this point in time. Manderson also making a pit stop as well to repair some damage. Careful not to plough down those journalists there. Now as we head on to another lap of racing, it's Defoe followed by Muttram, then Drug, Lons, Van der Geest, the top 5, but Fabrizio Ferranti is right on the tail of Van der Geest in all of that as well. So it's going to be a 45-minute race, of course. We're just 4 minutes in at this point in time. It's going to be a long race. And at an unforgiving track like the Sudschleife, it means that you've really got to have your wits about you to keep in contention, to keep on the road, to keep your car in one piece. We're already we're very nearly going to lap roll Posma here. Of course, Posma got teleported back to the pits when he had his incident, meaning he's almost a lap behind everyone by default. And of course, when you've got traffic, not only does that make my job a bit more complicated, since everyone has the same livery, it also makes the leaders' jobs more complicated, as they have to make sure they make their way past the slower cars without incident. In SimRacingOnline, the rules state that you don't have to get out of the way of the car in front, and or the car behind, sorry. And it's the responsibility of the car behind to make a clean pass. So Adam Manderson has returned to the race. He'll be surely about half a lap down or over. Tim Muttram again going to the outside of Dufour. He tried this move a lap ago, tried it again, and once again it's not worked, although Dufour didn't get a good exit there. Got a touch of oversteer, more than a touch of oversteer, and now he's run wide, and Tim Muttram's taken the lead. Dufour got very, very sideways, very squirrely, and he might lose up to Yucca Drug in all of that as well. Drug definitely getting a better exit. Muttram said in the first lap of the race so far, as expected on lap 2. Flavio Bosca is still in the pits. I fear he may be out. Now Drug goes to the outside line. Gets it turned in. That was very well done, but they're just about to head over the crest of the hill, so they need to make sure the cars are stable, which they are. And Yucca Drug takes second position. So in the space of a fifth of a lap, Louis Dufour has dropped from first to third. I think he expected that to happen at some point, because Muttram and Drug, he saw them fighting for the championship last season, and Dufour would have just been enjoying sitting in the lead for that time. You see there, that is Roll Posma getting out of the way of the leaders. Ooh, sideways. Very sideways contact! Dufour's running to back up. Is that Drug? It is Drug. So Drug got very sideways, trying to pass Posma, and made contact with Dufour. Gonna see if there's steering damage to either car there. Drug appears fine. Dufour appears fine. Although that was a hairy, scary moment for the two of them. Oh, and a slight touch again, I think they're on the brakes. I'm not sure if there was a touch or not, but it got very close. And Dufour there, now under attack from Laurent Lons. So Lons getting involved in all of this as well. Posma is still ahead of these two, sticking with Tim Muttram. Oh, Laurent Lons definitely wants to have a piece of this. Past what I think was a slow sign. They're not going to be going in very slowly, I'm sure. And up again towards the bottom part of the circuit. If you look at it on a map, the south part, Boxberg, Mullenbach. Actually, I think that was Schafferkopf there. Still, the three of them separated by 1.5 seconds. It was Schafferkopf, sorry. Got a little bit disconcerted, but it's easy to do when the only real landmarks you have on the circuit are different bushes and fences and things. Up towards the Nordkurve, or Kera rather. This is where Dufour came under attack twice in the last 3 laps. Although this time feeling a little bit less pressure as Tim Muttram continues to stretch his advantage. The lead gap is now 7 seconds. And he just sets the first lap of the race. Roll Posma's back into the pits, possibly getting out of the way of the leaders. Maybe he's had another incident as well, so he's dropping to the back and potentially retiring. Nope, returning to the pits, returning to the track. So I expect he was just trying to get out of the way of the The cars coming through to lap him there, knew that he didn't have anything to lose. Ooh, DeFore's spinning! DeFore in the fence! Oh no, just overcooked it slightly, got on the grass, and once that happens, I'm afraid there's no saving it. And he's just been passed by Lons, by Van der Geest. There's contact with Ferrante. Surely he's going to have to let Ferrante go there. Yep, he does. And a clumsy couple of corners there for Lewis DeFore. I saw that Van der Geest and Ferrante had to check up a bit to avoid running into each other or him. So as everyone is now back on the course, I'm not sure why we've still got yellow flags showing. Let's just look at the bottom part of the field. Everyone appears to be okay, so hopefully those yellows will clear before long. Lewis DeFore now on the back of Fabrizio Ferrante. DeFore, of course, struggled in the previous season, and I did wonder whether it was just that his car was sorry. Yeah, like, I did suspect that his car was maybe uncompetitive. I think he was driving the Cooper. And now that they're all in equal machinery, he's definitely proving to be more competitive than he was before. Although, still dropping back through the order slightly. Of course, DeFore finished. He finished 8th in last season's championship. However, he did only make 3 rounds. Average result of 6.67, so about 7th place. He's on course for 6th here, if he is to finish like this, although really not letting Ferrante get much breathing space. And Fabrizio Ferrante, we know, is one of the fastest drivers in cars like these. Ferrante, I believe, came second in the first series of F1 Classic. He did indeed. Second place with a victory. And now Lewis DeFore is up the inside of him. And DeFore goes through. Not a bad recovery there from Lewis DeFore. And he's got back up into 5th position as it stands. Good evening to Bill Garukok joining us in the YouTube chat now. Great to see you joining us. Shame to not see you on track though. I know that you enjoyed the last few series of GPL leagues. Anyway, let's see if Lewis DeFore can start pulling away from Fabrizio Ferrante. Maybe even catch up to the back of John Van der Geest again. He'll feel like he deserves to be ahead of John. He'll feel like he should be ahead, rather. Although, of course, a simple mistake on the grass led to him dropping back through the order, dropping off the podium, and dropping back to 6th position as it stands. Running a little bit wide there. And now Van der Geest and Ferrante are separated by less than 2 seconds. Pretty much a 3-car scrap at this point, especially. I'm sure it'll turn into that on the more slipstreamy parts of the course. Bill Greycock says, "Evening, Caitlin. Only got back from holiday this afternoon. We'll have a crack at next round." Well, I hope you enjoyed your holiday. And great to hear that you'll be joining us next time out. We got a decent grid here as well, 14 cars. Not bad at all. And I'm sure a 15th car would not go amiss whatsoever. So Lewis DeFore, despite dipping wheels onto the grass every single time I look at him, has started to catch up to John Van der Geest. In fact, he's less than 7/10 of a second off the back of Van der Geest now, and I expect he may even have a look at him by the start of next lap. because we're on the slipstreamy part of the course now, the long straight heading up towards the Nordkere. Although this... Oh, and Ferrante's DNF'd. Well, I didn't see how that happened, although Ferrante, who was fighting with these two for 4th position, has suddenly disappeared from the order. I reckon that's only got... Well, that can only be a disconnection, can't it? He was right with this this trio, or with this duo, sorry, earlier in the straight, and then just disappeared. De Vore now taking a look to the outside of Van der Geest. Not there. It's a difficult place to pull a move. The car gets very unsettled through there sometimes. And now he may have to wait a little while because he's in the twistier section of the course, down through Brankekopf towards Aschenslag. Don't ask me to explain what any of these corners mean, or these corner names mean. The only corner names that I actually understand are Nordkere and Sedkere, which of course mean north and south curve. Anyway, Louis de Vore passing Van der Geest. Van der Geest locks up. Although Van der Geest has the inside line for the next corner, such is the nature of this windy Sudschleife course. It's left and then it's right and then it's left again. And Van der Geest is lucky to get away with that one because he's certainly locked up and ran wide. And De Vore has to settle for 5th for now. Past the hedges and the shrubs. And up towards... I think I saw someone running quite wide there. That may be Roll Posma. I think it's about to... It's not Posma, is it? Manderson, potentially? I think it may be. So I think that's Manderson getting lapped and all of that as well, just to confuse matters. And, oh, Manderson touching the grass. Obviously not getting out of the way of the leaders, and he doesn't have to. He's not obliged to. But not exactly making their job easy. Louis de Vore will be loving this. He's gone up the inside and he's past John Van der Geest. Now, providing he gets past Manderson cleanly and quickly here, I expect he'll be quite an Adam Manderson fan after this race. Ah, there we go. Would you look at that? Actually, Manderson's still on his inside note, gives him room. And that played very nicely into the hands of Louis de Vore there, as we've had Donny Youth stopping and going to the pits. Jukka Drug now sets the fastest lap of the race, although disappointment for Donny Youth. Oh, his de Vore runs very wide. Disappointment for Youth in his first race with SimRacingOnline, I think. Definitely first race in the F1 series that we've done. He actually has done other races with us. He's done races in let me just double check what series he's done. Oh, who's that going off? It's Phil Brown. Phil Brown going off. Oh, he's just about managed to keep it out of the bridge. Looked to me as if he was going to get a face full of concrete there. Although just about keeps it alive. Didn't exactly see how that happened. I'm going to look back at the stream briefly. I just understeered off, didn't it? Andrew Williams says Drug just gained a second on the leader but dropped back 0.5 of that again. Yeah, indeed. He set the first lap of the race last time around. Who's that going up on the bank? Adam Manderson thinks it's NASCAR racing or something. Over the bank again. Into the fence. That was a hard hit. I'd be surprised if he got away with that without any suspension damage. Come on, get it running. Get it running. He does. Had to wait for Roll Posma to get through. So he's last 9th position. Who's that? Into the wall. It's Paul Anstey. Paul Anstey very unlucky there. Just suddenly had a car in his path. They need to clear out of the way now because they're blocking the track. But that was... Oh, Adam... Looking back at the replay, Adam Manderson just over-rotated it, trying to get the car back on the road. And Anstey was the innocent victim. Doesn't appear to have too much suspension damage, although Roll Posma does. And Manderson... Oh, yeah, that's bad, that's bad. Okay, well, a couple of drivers in severe trouble here, and that's a shame for Manderson, who of course is in his first, only his second outing with SimRacingOnline. Oh, I'm going off again. That's painful and very expensive, and he's going to have to exit to the pits there. Well, he's DNF'd altogether, as has Yorth. So, 8 drivers remaining in this race now from the 14 that started. It's been a race of attrition so far. And we have just 25.5 minutes remaining. Who should we watch now? If you can shout out your favourite in the chat, we'll have a look at them. Although I'll quickly have a look at Tim Muttram here, who just set the fastest lap of the race. Let's ride on board with Muttram and show you exactly what this windy, undulating circuit looks like from on board. Oh, look at that! I've always been impressed by Muttram's driving style. He appears to really rotate the car on its axes, and that's surely fantastic for conserving your front tyre life. Ooh, I'm not sure his rear tyres are going to like it, but tyre life doesn't appear to be something that these cars struggle with much. Hello as well to Max Shepherd, my good friend Mac, who has joined us. He says, hope Drug can catch up. Okay, so we have a Yucca Drug fan there. I know that Mac was always very impressed by Yucca Drug's speed when he was racing against him, and to be honest, who wasn't? Andrew Williams says, no, we need him chasing for the championship lead rather than cruising to it. Well, clearly Drug, the favourite. Although currently 6 seconds back in second position at this point in time. This is a masterful display from Tim Muttram. The car control that he demonstrates is always just so admirable. And I tell you what, I very much wish that I could drive like him. 6 seconds in the lead, and that's no fluke. He is flying around this Sudschleife circuit. Of course, Muttram narrowly missed out on the championship last time. It came down to the final round at the Feldbergring. And in the end... Oh, sorry, not the Feldbergring. I'm looking at the wrong series. And in the end, the championship was separated by just 5 points. And it was settled at the final round at Monza, the 10k Monza circuit. I should actually tell you what races we're racing at this season. Let me just get up that list. Of course, today we were at the Nurburgring Sudschleife. And we are also going to the classic Montjuic circuit in Barcelona, as well as Horsma Raceway, which is a track that I'm not familiar with, as well as the old Rouen circuit. Let's have a look at Laurent Lons, who we haven't seen much of today, currently running in a decent 3rd position. 15 seconds back from Drug, 3 seconds out of Dufour, and just set a personal best lap. So Lons pushing and going well at this point in the race. Sorry for getting distracted, because after we go to Rouen, we are going to Mosport in Canada, and then a classic version of the Adelaide circuit in Australia. So, an exciting season to look forward to in terms of the races. Not too many races as long as we've seen some of the longer tracks of last season. Of course, Montjuic's going to be a fairly long one, as is this circuit here. And also I expect Rouen's probably going to be about maybe 2.5 minutes in length as well. We'll see when we get to it, I suppose. This circuit, of course, actually not too long at all in the grand scheme of things. And if you took a modern Formula 1 car around here, not only would it be ridiculously dangerous, but it would also be much, much quicker, and will probably be over in probably about 2 minutes flat. So it's about as long as the modern Spa circuit. Of course, the Sudschleife is a circuit that was used from 1927 to the early 1980s, and unfortunately only small sections of the track remain due to the building of the modern Grand Prix tracker, which is a shame in my opinion, although not really, because this circuit was clearly obsolete, as Van der Gies there passes to 4 for 4th. Yeah, this circuit was clearly obsolete. They were obviously not going to be able to keep racing here into the era of safety it was. De Vore gets off the road and keeps it under control just about. And that's actually why I think it was probably a good thing that the new Grand Prix tracker was built. I actually quite like the track. It's a good one, and it's instantly recognisable. So, this battle of a 4th has been brewing for a while now. Of course, Van der Gies passed De Vore earlier in the lap. We didn't see how that happened, although I think there was a mistake from... there was a mistake from De Vore, I expect. We've now got 5th Hellrider, who is Fabrizio Ferrante, joining us in the YouTube chat, who says, "Hi guys, unfortunately I lost connection." Yeah, I thought that's what happened. Big shame. Sorry about that. De Vore now goes to the outside of Van der Gies, and Van der Gies covers him off. Aggressive defence from Van der Gies, but knew that he could pull across and not come together with De Vore, so judged it well. Ooh, and Max Shepard apparently has a new PC as of yesterday. I knew that you had a broken PC, Max, so very good to hear that you've got your new one, and I hope it's working okay. We gotta catch up at some point about things like that. Now, De Vore just 0.2 of a second under that, in fact, through the last checkpoint, behind John Van der Gies, trying to come back at him. We saw him passing Van der Gies earlier in the race, but due to what I expect was an off-screen mistake, he's going to have to do it all over again. Oh, and he's going for it! No, he's on the grass! Yeah, that was never going to work. I feel like that was a full-on attempt at an overtake there, although it was very ambitious. And if we pulled that one off, I probably would have eaten my pinky finger or something. And now he's dropped back a little bit from John Van der Gies. About 1.5 seconds. I'm expecting him to catch that back up again, but it's going to take some effort. Excuse me while I sneeze. Let's take a look at some other people in the race while we have a chance, and while De Vore is catching back up to Van der Gies. Roel Posner, of course, was in the pits earlier on and has recovered to the race now and appears to be running okay. Still on the lead lap as some of his competitors. And of course, so long as he's running in 8th position, I believe he's still in contention for points. I'll double check that. I'm not entirely sure what point system we're using for this particular series yet. Yeah, we're using the normal SimRacingOnline point system, which means that everyone who finishes scores points. And I believe everyone who starts scores points as well. Now, Lewis De Vore has caught up again to John Van der Gies. They're separated by less than 0.8 of a second. As we go through the interestingly paved Nurburgring, sliding out towards the start-finish straight again. And on to another lap with just over 16 minutes of this race remaining until we get the checkered flag. Well, at the end of that lap, of course. flying over the crest of the hill. We've seen that every single time drivers go through that. That is by far my favourite part of the course. Williams says that Andrew Williams, says that Lewis de Vore is definitely quicker than John van der Geest, but Van der Geest is more consistent. Yeah, I'd agree with that actually. That sounds about right, judging by the race so far. Bill Grucock notices that Yucca's dropping back every lap from Muttram, and indeed he's back to 8 seconds behind now. Meanwhile, we just saw de Vore making another mistake and running over the grass again, but once again keeping it under control. De Vore just, well, he seems to have a very nervous car today, and he's maybe not driving it carefully enough. But yeah, getting very squirrely on several occasions, running over the grass, whereas Van der Geest ahead just looks planted. I'm pretty sure we saw Van der Geest have a little incident earlier in this race where he slid sideways and got collected by someone, although that appears to be long behind him because he's been absolutely planted since then. 15 minutes remaining in this race now. We're getting towards the late stages. And Fabrizio Ferrante points out in the YouTube chat that there's no easy place to pass on this circuit, and Van der Geest is always fast on the straights, and indeed he is. Which is why Lewis de Vore is struggling to get past him at this point in time, and why he's being forced into desperate moves like the one that forced him onto the grass a couple of laps ago. Or last lap rather. Keep forgetting that this is a relatively long circuit. And now he's dropped back to 1.6 seconds behind him again. John Van der Geest clearly more consistent, although de Vore still continuing to run and chase him down. So, who should we have a quick look at next? Maybe let's have a look at Yucca Drug quickly, because we haven't seen much of him yet this race. He's been very much running on his own. 8 seconds behind Drug, 19 seconds out of Lawns, and as a result he's not really been in the limelight much. Although this is a Bruce McLaren-esque performance from him so far. Hasn't quite had the pace of Tim Muttram, but he's kept it clean. Not entirely sure what happened to him off the start. Lost a couple of places off the line, but got up into second again on the second lap, I think. And, well, Lewis de Vore, I'm still baffled by his start. I'm pretty sure he started something like 8th or 9th or something, and he was leading by the time they went over the crest by the Sudkurva. Sudkurva, rather. Obviously, de Vore has just found a way to launch the car like not many other people can. And now we've lost Roel Posma, so unfortunately the race of attrition continues. 7 drivers remaining in this 14-car race, and that's a shame. But still it's close between 4th and 5th. De Vore again is caught up to the back of Van der Geest. He keeps on catching up, then making a mistake and dropping back, then catching up again, and then making more mistakes. You can't help but feel that he's getting a little bit frustrated here, a little bit desperate. He knows that time's running out, and he knows that Van der Geest is planted and has full control of that McLaren up ahead of him. This car, I believe, was the very first McLaren Formula 1 car, built by Bruce McLaren with the aim of being the first driver to win the championship in a car of his own name, but unfortunately for him, he was beaten that year by Jack Brabham, who went on to claim exactly that same award to become the first driver to win a championship in a car of his own name and a race in a car of his own name. Although, of course, Bruce McLaren did have success with the McLaren team, winning the Belgian Grand Prix in 1968, which was the first win for a McLaren. But that was a much later McLaren, the M7A. And this, of course, is the M2B. Not sure which engine we're using in this. It's either the Ford V8 or the Serenissima V8. Both of them 3-litre engines. And both of them were point-scoring engines that year in Formula 1. I wonder if there's anything about that on the event page. No, I'm afraid there isn't. Sorry about that. Certainly doesn't sound like any Ford engine I've heard, so I'm assuming that it's the Serenissima. Serenissima. I wonder whether that's to do with... I wonder if that's from the same root as the word serenade. I don't speak Italian, but that just popped into my head when I was listening to the sound of this car. And it does have a very nice sound. All cars of this era do. I'm going to search that up, actually. Serenissima. I'm probably spelling it wrong there. Okay, well, I'm not sure it does mean anything, actually. Whatever the case, Louis Dufour again. Or Lewis, I don't know why I keep calling him Louis. But Louis Dufour again very sideways. As he has been for pretty much this entire race so far. Just seems to have his car move underneath him a lot more, but not in that controlled, nice and all-wheel drifty kind of way. More like, hang on for dear life, this thing's trying to kill you. That's a good run though, that's a good run. Oh, contact! He's run into the back of him, he's in the wall. Oh, that's a disaster for Louis Dufour. He had a really, really good run on John Van der Geest there. And I'm just going to look back at the replay to see exactly what happened. Well, he had a good run on Van der Geest. Van der Geest pulled across the fence. Now, I don't think Van der Geest was moving unnecessarily late there. Or dangerously at all. I think that he showed his intentions clearly. And Louis Dufour just misjudged it. It's an easy thing to do. And that has damaged Louis Dufour's car. And put him 2 seconds back. Let's have a look at John Van der Geest's steering to see if he has any damage. Not sure that he does actually. It looks okay as he heads through the Nordkade. Yeah, that looks okay. So I reckon John Van der Geest will have the advantage for the remainder of this race over Dufour. And Dufour will be fairly gutted about that because he knew that he could very, very easily have got up in... Well, I say easily. Of course, Van der Geest was not making it easy for him, but... Oh, and he's off again! He's misjudged that! Great save from Dufour! That is the save of the race. I don't think he hit anything there. I'm going to look back at the replay to see if he did or not, but... Flying through the air! And somehow managing not to overcorrect on the landing. I am amazed he didn't end up smacking into the bridge there. I've just looked back at the replay. He did not hit anything. Okay, that is quite something there. That really is. It's not going to gain him much time, or any time at all for that matter. It's going to lose him time, but certainly does gain him style points, I suppose. Not that those are any such thing as far as the championship is concerned. Anyway, wonderful, wonderful show. John Van der Geest now getting away from him a little bit. And flying past the hay bales. Doesn't have that pressure of Louis Dufour behind, so he can just push until the end, I expect. Keep going and show them how it's done. Of course, John Van der Geest is one of the most experienced drivers in SimRacingOnline. He is one of the series organisers and administrators. and does a wonderful job. And of course, 4 championships to his name as well. He's yet to win one in 2019, and he would very much like to. It's going to be very difficult in this series since we have such competitive names as Tim Muttram, Jukka Drug and Lauren Lawns. But John van der Geest is still gunning for it, as you can tell. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Fabrizio Ferrante wins a race or two this year as well. It's a shame that he's dropped out, although I think he has potential. There are certainly some tracks that seem to suit him more than others. Probably longer circuits, from what I've observed in the past. So I'm expecting him to do well next time out at Montjuic and possibly also at Rouen later on this year as well. No pressure though, Fabrizio. Oh, Bill Grucox pointed out something interesting. And so is Andrew Williams. They both pointed out that there is now a 15-second gap for the lead. So I wonder whether Jukka Drug had some sort of off or something somewhere, because he has now dropped to 16 seconds behind Muttram. Is there maybe a problem with Jukka Drug's car? Well, no, I think he must just have had a little off or something somewhere and got away with it. Lewis Defore's had another off. Speaking of offs, and that may be it for Lewis Defore. He's back in the pits. Phil Brown's gone through to 5th. And it hasn't confirmed that he's a retirement yet, although I expect it will do in short time. That's a shame for Lewis Defore, who led the race very briefly. Led the first lap of the race. And now has dropped, well, will drop back into 7th position, I believe, because we got, well, Paul Anstey just needs to complete this lap to get back past Lewis Defore, I believe. Paul Anstey's a driver we haven't spoken about much, and he has just passed Lewis Defore there. So, Anstey up into P6 as it is. We may only have 6 drivers remaining in this race, unless Defore can get back out onto the track. Paul Anstey, another very, very experienced driver with SimRacingOnline. He's raced, this is his 41st series, I believe, with SimRacingOnline. And he has won championships so far this year. He won the Scirocco V6 World Tour and the historic Group C Championship. Both of those we ran earlier this year. The Scirocco V6 World Tour finished not too long ago, actually. And he won that despite missing a race too. Not bad whatsoever. However, hasn't gone quite so well for him. He is going to pick up 6th position by virtue of finishing the race, however. And that should always be applauded at a track such as this, in a car as difficult to control as this. I personally love classic single-seaters, but I know that there's a lot of people who really find them very, very difficult indeed. And they are difficult. They're unforgiving, definitely. And they're susceptible to heavy damage since their wheels stick out at awkward angles, as they do. And you have to drive them more like dune buggies than single-seaters most of the time, because they waft so much, they wade across the track, if that's the correct term to use. Lewis Defore is still in the pits, unfortunately. Jukka Drug now 17.6 seconds back from Tim Muttram. Just hasn't had the pace here today, has he? To keep up with Tim. Let's hope that the fight next time out is going to be a little bit closer than this. I'm not saying that Muttram's had it easy by any means. He did have to fight past Defore near the start of the race. And of course it's not easy to keep the cars under control at this circuit, as you just seen by Drug dipping wheels onto the grass again. But despite that, Drug has stayed steady, kept it within the lines, and he's going to pick up points for second position. The great thing about the SimRacingOnline point system is that you don't really lose that many points through finishing behind someone. It's 40 points for victory and 36 for second place. And that means that so long as you turn up for every race, you're guaranteed to build up quite a points tally. And that means that attendance is probably going to be the most important thing in this series. The championship is going to be fought out between drivers who turn up every time. And it also means that it's worth finishing the race if ever you can. And it's worth not giving up. Tim Muttram, meanwhile, is still pushing despite having such a major advantage. We're on the final lap of the race now, and he's just set the fastest lap going on to this lap. Just an unbelievable performance for Tim Muttram, and we will watch him as he goes on to the final lap of the race. Here he is, Tim Muttram, dipping a wheel into the grass but keeping steady. Last season, he shocked everyone in his Honda by winning the first round of the championship, and going on to win a second round later in the season and finish second in the championship overall. And today it looks as if he's going to claim the first round of another championship. That's what we're witnessing right in front of our eyes. A very steady performance, but a very fast one as well. And this is going to be a truly well-deserved win. I'm not trying to celebrate too early. He still has a few corners to go now. Where are we on circuit? Let's see if I can figure it out. I believe we're heading up towards Mullenbach, maybe. Or is that the Rasruch? No, that's Mullenbach. So now we head up the hill towards the first right-hander at Rasruch. Just a few braking zones to go now. Here's Schäferkopf. That's not Schäferkopf. We're about to see Schäferkopf in a second or two. My apologies, it's very difficult to keep up with this circuit. There's Schäferkopf. And it looks as if his winning margin may be 18 seconds in all of this as well. That is simply phenomenal. Untouched and unchallenged. And Fabrizio Ferrante says, Tim is the king of drift. Indeed he is. He's the king of not just drift, but he's the king of the Nordschleife, clearly. Roll Posma is in the YouTube chat as well. He says, too many problems to finish. It's a shame. Hope to see you back next time out. But let's now watch Tim Muttram as he comes around the final corner. The Nordkehrer puts the power down, drifts it through in true Tim Muttram style. A wonderful performance, slides it out, wiggles across the line and wins at the Nordschleife. Sudschleife, sorry, wrong track. He's going to spin after the finish, Vittorio Brambilla style, and go through the barrier, but that doesn't matter because he has won already. Jaka Drug is going to claim second place. Not a bad performance from him. Laurent Lons is going to be third. You see Muttram though, still stuck in the barrier on the other side of the track. Hello to Jens Roos in the YouTube chat, joining us right at the last minute, joining us right as everyone is crossing the finish line. Shame you couldn't make it, although thanks for joining in. Laurent Lons now coming out at the final corner to claim a podium finish. Third place for him, well done. John van der Gies will be fourth despite heavy pressure from Lewis de Vore earlier on. Phil Brown is going to be P5. He had issues, but he's going to finish, and that's important, so hats off to him for doing so. Across the line he goes, and Paul Anstey will be the final finisher in 6th position. He's got about 50 seconds of track still to go. just coming out and past the Sudschleife towards the back straight, under the bridge, and up towards the Nordkerde. Roll Plusma says, good commentary. Thank you very much, Roll. That's very nice of you to say. If you want to hear more of my commentary, I've got a few coming up. I'm going to be rejoining the SRO GT1 series later on in the series for the finale, and I'm also going to be doing the full F1 1966 series uninterrupted. And you can also follow me on Twitter if you like. I'm Caitlin Penny F1, I believe. Polanski there finishes in 6th position. And a great job by everyone who finished there. It's not an easy circuit to finish at. So, fantastic job from Tim Muttram to win. Let's just see what his finishing margin was. I believe it was 18 seconds. Oh my word, as near as makes no difference, it was 17.968 seconds by Tim Muttram. Absolutely wonderful. And this car produced a show. I love classic single-seaters. So, well done to Tim Muttram, to Jocke Drog, and to Lauren Lance. Thank you to everyone for joining in. Thank you to everyone who commented in the YouTube chat. And thank you as well for 100 subscribers on this channel, which we achieved earlier today. That's a wonderful achievement. And if you want to share us with your friends, your families, your fellow racers, that would be very much appreciated. So thank you for tuning in, and we are going to see you in is it 1 week's time or 2 weeks time for the next round? Let me just double check that. It is 1 week's time, where we will be at Montjuic Park in Barcelona. See you then.